This is the Wing Woman Show. Are you ready?
You're listening to the Wing Woman Show. Today's guest is Alexis. Alexis, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Morgan, for having me. I'm so happy and excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, yeah. So walk us back to the very beginning because Alexis and I actually met at the University of Tampa sitting in a tax accounting class, which was not the best of experiences for us, obviously, because we're doing completely different things now.
Exactly. And man, I just remember Morgan's spirit and energy being so high and so full of enthusiasm that we just attracted to each other so easily. And we, like she said, we were sitting in this tax accounting class and it was very hard and just rigid and tough. And we both knew in an essence that we weren't meant to be there, but we had to get through this class some way, somehow. And it was funny because we were both majoring in accounting. And like we said, we didn't think that was the path for us. But nonetheless, there's things in life where we're in situations that we feel like we're not supposed to be there, but really we are because we can make connections with people just like we did in that moment. So thank you, tax accounting, for bringing me like one of my best friends and somebody that I look up to as, you know, she's going to be the biggest influencer. Like I'm telling you right now, you have, girl, your potential just keeps growing and growing and growing.
My gosh.
I'm so excited to see where, you know, life takes you.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So that was like a big starting point for the both of us because after you graduated from the University of Tampa, you got started in real estate. So walk us through just the beginning of your career path.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I mentioned, you know, I was an accounting major and I actually minored in I double majored in accounting and cybersecurity. And man, it was tough. But nonetheless, right after I graduated, I got offered by a couple big, well-known accounting firms. And in my heart, just something was not sitting right. Like I knew I was not meant to just go into this accounting position based on how these classes were and how my intuition was telling me that I wasn't going to be fulfilled. And I think a lot in those moments, we might be pleasing, you know, our parents, our families, or other people in like what we are doing in college because we're still so much influenced by someone else. You know, that's the development years, you know, we're 18, we're like 21, 22. And it's just like we're listening to all of these people telling us what we're supposed to do, but we need to know that each and every person has a different definition of success. So we need to understand and go deep into, you know, what is my definition of success? What do I want to do every day when I wake up in the morning, and really to dig deep into that. So I didn't understand that for a while going through college because I was continually basing, you know, success off of someone else. So with that being said, right after college, like I said, I was offered a couple accounting jobs and I knew something wasn't going to be right. I felt like I was only going to be in this accounting position for a year, maybe 2 years, and be burnt out. And that's not fulfillment to me. And I did so much homework, research on entrepreneurship. And I didn't really understand it at first. I had to dig deeper. I watched more content. I watched a lot of YouTube. I went to YouTube University, like I like to call it, because I just like had to go, you know, to town on all this free content. And if I can tell someone anything is like, of course, a 4-year education is great, right? From university or college, but you can get so much off the internet and Google and YouTube. And just take my advice and get going on it. But anywho, I literally went to town on YouTube and found, I wanted to be a real estate investor. And at that time, I was like, okay, well, I don't have money. Like, what can I do in order to, be resourceful and to start? And so I realized something really important is that if you want something and you don't have the money, but you have the energy, the enthusiasm, and the time to work, you need to be around people who are doing things that you want to accomplish and who you want to be like. So with that being said, I thought, you know what? I have the time and the energy and the hustle. I need to be around real estate investors. And those are going to be my clients.
Well, that's a big jump to go from a very structured as an accounting major experience all the way to learning from YouTube University. And I feel like with a lot of the clients that we work with, they feel like their heart's calling is to become a speaker or to write a book or develop the product. But it's still a big deal to make that jump. So what was it? You talked about the fulfillment, the need to feel the actual fulfillment, but talk me through that process of actually pursuing the real estate side of things. What did you tell yourself? Because a lot of our clients are very fearful when it comes to making that transition.
Yeah, so I did have to do a lot of digging within myself and within these beliefs already that I had around other people that were pushing them on me because they were just scared for me, right? But I had to realize that that's their own maybe insecurities, self-doubting beliefs, and that couldn't be pressed on me. So you had to get out of this fearful, this fearful state, and you have to dig deep into your why. And that takes a lot of reflecting and a lot of digging is what I would say. A lot of introspection with yourself, figuring yourself out on your why. And I have this quote right here. It's when your why is bigger than your fears, you will overcome. And that is what got me through so much. Is at first, it was the fear of failure, right? The fear of being an embarrassment, a fear of not being successful. And then once you get over that, nobody else's judgments should matter besides God's, the universe, and that's it. We only live one life, live it to the fullest. Period.
Yeah. Well, it definitely worked out for you because you first started with the Airbnb side of things, which I find is so interesting. So walk us through, you found that off of YouTube, right? That was even an option?
Yeah, so I found a YouTube almost channel about Airbnb management, right? So managing Airbnbs for real estate investors who have too many things going on, right? And it was great for me, right? It was a great starting point for me. And it made me realize just customer service and how to start a business. And I'll tell you this, the start of it is all fun, exciting, let's go, let's do it. But then when you're running a business, it's a whole nother scenario. And of course, that enthusiasm in the beginning is great, but when you're running a business, it can definitely take a toll on you. But at the same time, it's very much a learning experience.
Yeah. Well, and so did you eventually close that down during the coronavirus? Because of course the coronavirus had to come and kind of ruin the tourism here in Florida for a while. So did you kind of feel what was that feeling like? Because that's your first company, closing that down and moving on to something else.
Exactly. And I'm glad you mentioned that because that was it felt like the world was almost ending to so many people, right? It was just this time where everything was shutting down. Tourism was at its lowest. airplanes, just airports were shut down, and hotels were having the hardest time, and obviously Airbnbs were too. So in that moment, I just remember, talk about a fearful moment, waking up and seeing about 100 to 200 reservations for the upcoming like 4 to 6 months, all canceled. And it was this moment of just fear, anxiety. What am I going to do? What do I do? Because it was actually at almost the pinnacle time here in Florida, where it was March, and that was when spring breakers come to Florida. That's the best time of the year, right? And it was around that time where I was just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And that's when it's just like entrepreneurs have so much strength, so much, like, I guess you can say energy, right? And I just feel the word strength. But then there comes a point where you're like, you throw your hands up and you're just like, God, universe, whatever you actually believe in, you know, help me, because right now I don't know the answers. And I had to turn to faith, and I had to turn to God and to say, take over, because right now I just don't know what to do. So it was a time of, I would say, frustration, a time of digging deep for myself, because that moment, it felt like the fear was right back to the beginning of starting the business.
Yeah, and you decided to stay in the same industry too. So what's the time frame from the moment that you closed the Airbnb business to now starting your investment group?
Yeah, so pretty much it was like, okay, around February, March, Corona was just about happening, and the cancellations came. And at that time, it was like dealing with my clients who were very much fearful as well, dealing with their anxieties, their concerns. And then I had to switch over from the short-term rentals to like month-long rentals, to maybe a couple month rentals. So it switched my whole strategy into something that I was not familiar with. I wasn't just a regular property manager. I specialized myself in vacation rentals short term. So it completely flipped the business on its side, and I had to pivot very quickly. And as entrepreneurs, you know, we have to pivot in situations. We can't just be so stuck in the day-to-day that it bogs us down. We have to pivot, and we have to re-strategize, and we have to realize, you know what, this is what we do. As entrepreneurs, we are problem solvers. We are almost like firefighters. I mean, they do amazing, extraordinary things, but we fight problems. We fight fires. That is our job. So with that being said, it was interesting because it was this moment of realization of what to do next, right? Asking God, the universe, where am I going next, right? And that's when I heard a lot about this term called wholesaling. And I heard it here and there tossed around. I didn't really understand it. And for those who don't know about it, wholesaling is a beginner strategy of real estate investing, and it is finding discounted properties. It's the art of finding discounted properties and being able to flip the contract to a real estate investor who is ready to rehab, who's ready to buy and hold it. And that's where I'm at, and the birth of the Friendly Investors began.
Yeah, and I feel that is one of my favorite parts of your story, because it's not like you had millions of dollars in your bank account. You knew that you wanted to pursue real estate, and you did it with what you had and where you were at. So what advice would you give to someone listening who also wants to get in real estate? Because it's so common that we think we need millions of dollars or all these different resources to get started.
Exactly. So there's a couple of things I would recommend. You know, find mentors who are doing it already. Um, Go research on YouTube, and just get involved, right? Ask questions. Do not be afraid. And that's what I realized too, is that we have to ask people who are already doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to have mentors, you know, at our sides. And that's what I realized, just to find people who are already in the game and who are not afraid to share. Life is all about giving, and you know, if that person is successful, they will be willing to give. Nothing is a
Mm-hmm.
secret. If the person is a good godly person, they should want to give to help others. So that is definitely one of my best recommendations. And maybe to like not be afraid to pivot. You know, like I said, I went from accounting to
Right.
Airbnb management to an investment company, right? You shouldn't be afraid. Like if you fail at something, you have the opportunity to do something new. If you don't like something, you have the opportunity to do
Right.
something new. Never be afraid to try new things in life. You know, every day is a new opportunity to improve, to get better. And I'm not saying don't be a quitter or to not quit. Like I'm
Right.
saying to really dig deep, get better, improve every day. But if you feel in your heart that this is not meant for me, I'm not being fulfilled by this, or my time has come with something, move on. You are being redirected and aligned to something else.
I love that you brought that up, because I feel like sometimes we can get nostalgic about moving on from a particular opportunity or an experience, but that's the benefit of growing your own brand, whether that's for your business or your own personal brand, is that you have the platform and the foundation built so you can pivot and pursue new opportunities from like watermelon to like selling real estate. That's like the
Exactly.
benefit of that solid foundation. And you are a very savvy professional, but knowing you on the personal side, you invest so much in your own mindset and your own well-being. So take us through a couple of things that you do daily to kind of set you up to pursue the success that you've already had.
Exactly. Before I go into that, I want to
Yeah.
say about starting, you know, starting something new and getting rid of something old. One thing that really helped me was putting down my own ego. And it's huge, right? Because ego can really be like a big thing for entrepreneurs. And once we put down our ego, like, do you know what? I had my time with something. Now it's time to move on to something else. That is fulfilling because that
Hmm.
shows to others that it is okay. We are not a failure. It is a stepping stone in the right direction to where we're supposed to go. So I felt compelled to share that,
Yes.
because there's just so many times and instances that, you know, outside looking in, it might seem that it's so easy for somebody else, but no, it truly wasn't. And it was hard for me to just put down a company, but to realize
Hmm.
something else was coming for me because something was blocking me in the way of getting something better that was
Yes.
supposed to come.
Yes, that is like, I feel like you just put so many thoughts into like actual words, because even throughout my own journey, I've had multiple different projects and companies that I've started. And for me, it has always been very hard for me to move on to the next one. But hearing you say that just enforces the idea that there's this big picture vision. And if we spend so much time holding on to a past idea, we're holding up the entire like lifespan of our own careers and our own initiatives. So I love hearing you talk about that.
Exactly, exactly. And just everything that we go through life is a learning lesson, a stepping stone to where we are supposed to be. So never feel like anything you have done is a mistake. Everything is a learning lesson. And I just needed to share that because I know somebody's
Yeah.
out there who needs to hear that. Because if you think about it, everything is just is just a stepping stone to where we're supposed to be. And
Mhm.
I love that about life. And I'm just so
Yeah.
happy that I get to share that with your viewers today and your listeners.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like there is a fine line between maybe it's time to move on from the opportunity and, oh, you need to stick it out a little and be a little more consistent or adjust your strategy. So, what would you say is like the difference? Like, for example, with your Airbnb company, I mean, that's a little different because of the coronavirus. But what kind of factors were you like, oh, should I stick it out and try to like rejuvenate it after the coronavirus, or no, it's time to move on?
Well, I really had to like weigh the pros and the cons of the business.
Yeah.
There was just so many stressful factors in that business, and I
Mhm.
really realized like the hospitality it what I was in was the hospitality industry, and it seemed like it was real estate, but really I was pleasing others, like our guests in hospitality. And I realized that everyone has a different view on
Mhm.
a great experience, right? So I was trying to please
Yeah.
so many different people. And that really did take a toll on me mentally,
Right.
physically, emotionally. And I realized, it seemed like the real estate industry, but actually it was hospitality. And
Mhm.
that's why restaurant owners are sometimes so burnt out because everyone has a different taste palette,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's just like it was the same thing for vacation rentals. So I knew that I needed to close that chapter of the book, move on to the next one.
Mhm.
And it's just brought me so much happiness, fulfillment, and I know that I'm on the right path now.
And I feel like it comes from knowing yourself too and what you want. Sometimes we can be so blindsided because it maybe the company is growing or we're getting success and recognition, but you do such a good job of just looking in yourself and working on yourself
Mm.
that, and I think I know that more so because I know you on the personal side of things as well. And you're just so intentional about that.
Yeah, and that also brings you back to that main question, right? Like mindset is so important. And as any early entrepreneur, like somebody who's in their business already, we need to be able to grow ourselves, to
Mhm.
refresh ourselves every day, mentally, physically, emotionally. We need to be able to be the best that we can be in order to give to our business and to give to others. Like we need our energy to be overflowing. If we can't overflow, then it's we really can't do our business as best as we possibly
Right.
can, right? So back to your main question of, you know, how do I keep up my mindset? What are some daily practices that I do? Like physically, always going to the gym. I love going to the gym in the morning because it really puts myself in like a centered I would say just like practice
Mhm.
almost that I'm able to successfully go through my day because I already did one of the main tasks.
Right.
And it's also just like rejuvenating. And it's like, oh, I already did that. Let's
Yeah.
go. Like what else am I going to accomplish today? And it just is a positive mindset that you can take on anything. You killed your workout. You did it. Good job. Let's go. Like, what else are you going to accomplish?
Mhm.
And I would definitely recommend one of this book called The Miracle Morning, and that
Yes, I
really changed
love
my
that book.
life.
Yes.
Right? It's awesome, and I try to typically wake up at 5 a.m. in between 7. So 5 and 7, like
Mhm.
7 is like if I went to bed on the super late side
Right.
of things, like around midnight ish, and I can sometimes do that. So you do have to give yourself some,
Mhm.
breathing room because sleep is so important.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
feel like entrepreneurs, like we sometimes are overworkers, right? We're switching from the 9 to 5 to the 5 to 9, people like
Right.
to say, right?
I
And
love that, yeah.
it's so funny because it's kind of true. Like we switch we switch this for the freedom of our
Mhm.
time and this personal freedom, which is amazing. It's fulfilling. But at the same time, we need to understand that sleep is important, health is
Right.
important, and mental health. Oh, that is so important. So
Yeah.
physically you need to be well, but mentally as well. If you don't feel right, if you feel frustrated, if you feel depressed, if you feel anxious, go talk to somebody. You are
Mhm.
normal. You are human. And as
Yeah.
humans, we go through different things, different uh, development stages in life. But to feel depressed, anxious, depressed meaning you're stuck in the past, anxious means you're
Mhm.
thinking too much of the future, overthinking, you need to go talk to someone about it and to relieve that stress, because
Yeah,
that's
just that
really
burden.
important.
That's such a heavy
Exactly.
burden to carry
Exactly.
every day with you.
Exactly. And there's so many entrepreneurs who carry the burden and think
Mhm.
that it's normal. And that was me for so long. I thought that, having fear of the future was normal. And
Yeah.
it's not. It's really not. And we need to remember that you are normal. You are a human. We tend to overthink, but there's somebody out there who is uh, educated to the point where they can help you and be a listening ear. And I think that's really important for
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. I really do.
Yeah, because I think for both of us, like being so goal oriented, we have these big visions
Okay.
for ourselves. I can catch myself getting in a little rut where I'm like anxious, like, am I doing enough to get to this big goal? And that is just like, as soon as I find myself thinking like that, I like have specific things that I do, like journaling and stuff like that, to get through it. Because if you don't, the weight carries you down every single day. And like, whether it's like a corporate job or owning your own business, it's still supposed to be fun. Not all the time, but it's still supposed to be fun. And like, I feel like a lot of people just take on that burden because they think, oh, this is what it's like to grow a business and this is what it's supposed to be like.
Exactly. Exactly. And it really is unhealthy. And at one point, you're going to have a breaking point,
Yeah.
and you're going to feel really edged in a way, and that you're going to take it out on other people. And once you
Mhm.
start doing that, that's when you know that you need to dive back into your well-being, your mental health. And
Yeah.
that's one of my best advice, really. And just stemming off that point would be like meditating. So getting into a practice of having just some time by yourself, turning on some Zen music you can find on YouTube for free, and
Yeah.
lighting a candle. Like this
Do you
right here is my, like, I know I'm centered. I do this
right.
every time I meditate, and sometimes I just let it go throughout, like I let it just burn throughout the day, because I know my good energy is there. It's
Right.
present. I set the intention as I light the candle. I say, this is for positivity. This is for
Yeah.
wellness. This is for love. This is for wealth. This is for prosperity. And I say the intention out loud.
Mhm.
And by doing that, you are welcoming all of the good energy into the space that you're in. And trust me, right when you set that intention, good things will come. And through that, I do positive affirmations. Um,
Mhm.
and that has really amped my mindset to believe that, who I think I am,
Mhm.
and nobody else's judgments, perception of me matter.
Right.
It's only who I am and who the creator tells me who I am. And that has really amped me up. I've also done some practice of yoga, and that's great too. So definitely find a local yoga instructor who
Yeah.
can help you feel centered.
Wow, you are just like a one centered being right now. So like let's say you're having on the other side of that, like you are centered every single day, but let's say you hit a really big roadblock, or maybe halfway through the day you start feeling that anxious feeling creep back in on you. What are some things that you do where you're like, no, Alexis, like let's keep this in check? Like what are some things that you do, maybe that you say to keep yourself centered throughout the day?
Yeah. So sometimes if things are out of order, right? I typically like to go outside and feel nature. And once we do that, we take off our shoes, take off our socks, and we go put our feet in grass. And we feel the earth and the energy of Mother Nature around us, and almost like, I don't want to say in us, but it is
Mm-hmm.
Mother Nature. We are one with Mother Nature, and once we accept that and find that centeredness, we will feel so much relief of the pressures, of the
Mm-hmm.
expectations, of just the stresses that people or society has put onto us. And once I realized that, stress is other people or ourselves, our own expectations, our own
Yeah.
struggles, and maybe it was pushed on to us from somebody else, like our parents or our coworkers, or just other influences from the media, from social media, from
Mm-hmm.
TV, from just all of these different things. And it's really helped me to go outside, to see the sun, and to just feel one with nature.
Yeah, and I think for some people who maybe haven't had moments like that, or who aren't into meditation or self-work, they might think that that's like so woo-woo for them. But I feel like if
Yes.
anything, it helps you realize like how artificial all of those things you were talking about really are. And it helps you, like earlier you were talking about, connect to your why, which ultimately helps you just step into yourself and grow your business even bigger. So it's not just about like putting your feet in the grass or going outside or meditating. Like it's so much deeper, and it pours over into all these aspects of your life. And like watching your own journey, like I can tell the difference not only in you, but also in your business and your relationships, that you are so intentional about everything that you do because you're so centered and you put in all this extra work.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I'm so glad you mentioned that, and thank you. Um, you know, being centered has just helped my life so much. And
Mhm.
as females, which I feel are most of your listeners,
Mhm.
we tend to be so emotional. And at one point or another, man, I felt my emotional intelligence just so out of whack. And I had to step back and like actually
Yeah.
realize that, some things I might take too personally, some things I overthink, sometimes I'm just really into my emotions, but I have to stop, I have to take the step back, I have to recenter myself, and I cannot let other people's judgments, perceptions, beliefs bother me and where I'm at in my journey.
Yeah, that is so important. And Alexis, thank you so much just for everything that you shared today, from like real estate to mindset. To finish up, where can our audience and listeners find you and connect with you?
Yeah, please connect with me on Instagram. My handle is Alexis M Gable. Alexis, Alexis M Gable, Gable.